So welcome everybody to Crypto Kingdom. For those who don't know me, I'm Cam. You might know me on Twitter as 0xnpi. I am one of the new co-founders in Crypto Kingdom. We had a community merge. I've been in crypto since 2017. I've done a lot, from running projects to helping with, writing blockchain code and smart contracts and everything. And excited to be a part of Crypto Kingdom. And this is my first AMA with them.
I'm Austin Clark. I hope a lot of it looks like I see a lot of familiar faces. But for those of you who don't know me, I create content on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I'm a co-founder of Cardinal House. I was graciously invited to come here and co-host this AMA with Cam because I've been a part of Cam's community for a while. Love what Cam does, and when he merged with Crypto Kingdom, it was pretty natural just to come here too. I'm also a part of creating content, and my YouTube channel is sponsored with Astrabit. Been using them since like end of July, early August. So I've been a very big proponent of different things when it comes to investing with Astrabit. I love it.
My name is Nicholas. I am the CEO of Astrabit, the co-founder and CEO of Astrabit. I have 13 years in private equity with a focus on distressed asset level buyouts and arbitrage. So that's all prior to Astrabit, obviously. We founded Astrabit in Lindsay and I and Wes in 2020. We went live to the general public in 2021, and that's been my sole focus ever since.
My name's Lindsay Barris, also co-founder and COO of Astrabit. I'm part of the veteran-owned side. I'm crypto trading alongside with Nick. We decided to kind of start this business.
So my name is Gabriel Parker. I am Chief Compliance Officer. I guess a little background about me. I have a lot of experience basically in compliance, a little bit over 8 years. My first job was at EY, which is one of the big four accounting firms, and kind of where I learned and honed all my skills. And really my task is to kind of learn, I guess, this ever-evolving platform we have in terms of crypto compliance, and just make sure that Astrabit and all of our products are following any industry practices. As I'm sure all of us here know, obviously all the stuff that's going on with FTX and now Binance. So my job is just kind of stay on top of that, make sure that we're following, again, any of the stuff that's coming out from good old Gary Gensler and the SEC, who are our hero friends, of course. And again, just kind of stay on top of that, make sure that we're monitoring it and staying in compliance with any of that information that comes out.
Dan here from Vela. I'm one of the co-founders, the Chief Product Officer. A lot of my background kind of comes from the same title. So product management plus strategy consulting for a variety of firms, large and small. Large side BCG, smaller side a lot of pre-Series A's startups in a variety of different verticals. So really excited to bring my skill set into Vela and kind of develop it into one of the premier perpetual platforms out there.
Hey guys, my name's Travis. I'm co-founder and CTO of Vela. Been a software engineer my entire career and got into crypto in 2012, so I'm one of the believers. And excited to be here and talk to you all about that.
Hey everybody, my name is Wes Rollings. I am also co-founder of Astrabit. I'm the head of R&D and strategy development for all of our strategists that want to onboard. I've been in crypto since I think 2013 was the first amount of Bitcoin I ever bought, and I've kind of been in and out of it until around 2019, where I started taking trading more seriously and automating trading strategies, which is where I met Nick and Lindsay and started the whole business.
That's awesome, guys. I want to point out something real quick is that, and I'm not trying to throw shade at any projects out there, but you just heard from Astrabit and Vela just the extensive backgrounds that everybody has in their own respective fields. And I think that's one of the really exciting parts about both of these projects is, they're not just somebody, again, not throwing shade or anything, but, not just anybody out there just doing some random Joe doing stuff. Like, these guys know what they're doing and they have experience with what they're doing. So it's cool to, be a product, help out these projects like this.
That's one thing I was even going to point out. It's like we have, oh my gosh, combined with all these years of experience with, different aspects of building a business or operating a business or anything like that. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Not to mention, the whole doxing portion, the legality portion. I mean, it's not like this. We're talking to some random new project that's, being built and all that, like in a bull market. So, yeah, I totally agree with that.
We started with algorithmic trading and we are broadening our horizons dramatically into decentralized or DeFi staking, all through a single pane of glass, much like a Bloomberg terminal type thing. Introducing multiple products, professional tools and services for all of our clients, including artificial intelligence and machine learning abstraction layers that we're currently building right now and should be in alpha in the next couple of weeks, and beta testing, live beta testing scheduled for January 14th. So we are really a space that takes, we're a company that sort of condenses the very balkanized crypto space into one single pane of glass where you can take advantage of many tools, trade on many exchanges, anywhere, anytime in the world, any time, without needing to hop across exchanges or anything like that. So that's really Astrabit.
Awesome, and I'll take Vela. So Vela is a perpetuals trading platform that's launching on Arbitrum in January. And we see just an enormous opportunity in the space for several reasons, right? Even a year and a half ago, with speed of L1 chains and the cost of gas, creating a CEX-like experience on a DEX was not even possible, right? So with tools like Arbitrum and others, I think the space is really opening up, and we see an opportunity, and current events even amplify this opportunity of self-custody and decentralized trading, but still being able to trade the way you want, have advanced order types like trailing stops and things like that. So our goal at Vela is to have the most advanced leverage trading platform on a DEX. That's Vela in a nutshell. We're going to be coming out in January with perpetual trading, and then we may, as a teaser, be adding some additional features like OTC and other things as we go along.
One quick question to Vela when it comes to Vela. When it comes to your goals to be, do the perpetual exchange, because one thing I've been using lately has been Pancake Swap, because as far as if I'm just personally trading or anything like that, because given the whole centralized exchange issue, I use MEXC sometimes, but most of the time I'll use Pancake Swap's perpetuals as well. The problem is I got to use a VPN because it's still in America. You can't really play around with that a lot. What really with Vela is there like a main differentiator that you're trying to fix with something like a competitor with Pancake Swap where they're doing that currently?
Well, there's a couple of differences, right? So Pancake Swap is a spot market. So you're trading actual tokens from one token to another, right? With perpetual trading, it's really synthetic assets. So we have pricing oracles that track different assets such as BTC or ETH, or on Vela we'll be offering Forex assets as well, so like the yen or GBP, and you're basically going long on short, betting which direction any of these assets are going to go. BitMEX, the CEX kind of pioneered the perpetual contract, right? So that's kind of the difference. We're not launching with a spot market or swaps in that respect. It's going to be trading synthetic assets. With regards to the VPN, we are still talking to our legal team and probably will be IP blocking the US depending on future legislation. And we're always trying to be careful and make sure that we're on the right side of the law. And I think even more so with current events, we have to be. So that's going to be something where we play it safe. And make sure that we talk to our legal counsel before allowing new jurisdictions, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, Austin, I'm not going to lie, I'm not super familiar with Pancake Swap's perpetual platform, like whether they run it through something similar like ourselves, where it's synthetic, or if it's by traditional order book or other mechanisms. But I can tell you that we probably have more advanced order types and order management and risk management tools, which is something that's going to be ideal for bots as well, from teams such as Astrabit, where they can provide their users kind of the power behind their platform without having to sacrifice just for integrating into a DEX. I think that's a huge differentiator, and one of the big reasons why we built Vela is because I mean, we've all traded on CEXs before, and even when GMX and like some of the first platforms started coming out in the decentralized space, a lot of us kind of paused before switching because even though we had to give custody, we still had faster execution on CEXs. We're able to set up a lot of automation that you can't on DEXs still to this date. And we're like, man, how can we take kind of the best of having your own custody while being able to execute as quick or close to as quick as CEXs, because centralization does offer benefits, right? So I think those are the big differences. I'll take a look at Pancake. Like honestly, like that whole entire BNB, BSC ecosystem has kind of been out of our purview. We've been focused on other ecosystems and we're launching Arbitrum. So it's good that you brought it up because we shouldn't be ignorant of big guys such as Pancake that are developing purchase capabilities.
Yeah. Well, I think you just said one thing that I didn't even recognize because I just found out Pancake Swap offered perpetual trading and stuff like that about a few weeks ago, and I thought that was only offered in the other than GMX, that was pretty much only offered in the centralized world. But you said one thing that I think is pretty key is that you can actually use what you're doing in the decentralized world and connect it to something like Astrabit with trading bots and stuff like that, because that's currently, I would say, a pretty big need in this space with the drama and everything going on. So I like that. I think that's pretty unique even to Pancake Swap because you can't even do anything like that with them.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, I know when I first came into this Discord, I had a lot of questions because we came in here, and if you scroll down on the left hand side of the server, you'll see all the Astrabit related stuff with the trading bots and the names and everything. And we came in here and we started posting about them and talk about them, and a lot of questions we got. And we're like, when are they going to be on a DEX? Can you use them on a DEX? Are they only on centralized exchanges? So with Nick, I don't know how much you guys want to get into it or anything. I know y'all made announcements about being on DEXs, but going back to what Dan was saying about how we could bridge that gap between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges, for example, trading bots, for example. Is that possible, and how would that work? I guess both of you guys can kind of answer this, Dan and Nick, on your ends.
To answer your question, it is 100% absolutely doable. In fact, we are in development right now to implement the DYDXs, which is going to bring. I think you hit the nail on the head too, Austin. There's not a lot of. I don't think there's a lot of platforms right now allowing algorithmic trading or automated trading on decentralized exchanges right now. But we are on top of it and working on it now. And that's part of why Vela's here right now with us today. But it's completely possible, and you can start linking things like your even Coinbase wallet to some of these things. So,
yeah, I think as a corollary to everything you've just said, I think the main hurdle that must be overcome is the automation side. The big thing with decentralized exchanges is when you trade on them, it requires applying a key, it requires constantly entering that, and of course, the moment you apply an automated algorithm to a decentralized exchange, you lose any automation the moment you have to constantly log on and approve a trade or something like that. It appears at this point that DYDX and GMX have built solutions around that, and in the words of Steve Jobs, good artists copy, great artists steal. So what we'll do is we will take what the work that has been done by those before us, and we will apply it to DYDX, GMX, and potentially other decentralized exchanges that we add to the Astrabit.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I mean, we are building Vela from the ground up for integrations such as these, right? So we'll have a suite of APIs available for simply getting pricing data, your trade data, things like that, and then also documentation for any smart contract functions that you might have to call. When you integrate with a DEX, there's just a whole different set of challenges, like Nick mentioned, versus a CEX, which is all API driven, right? But we'll have similar features to what you alluded to on DYDX, right? The ability to trigger trades, set stop losses, things like that. So definitely worth another separate technical call with you guys to talk about integrations. But we've got that in mind at Vela to make sure that bots can be built on top as easily as possible.
That's how Dan and I actually kind of met. It was a complete miscommunication between the third party who put us in contact, and then we started talking about what they're building, and with Astrabit's building, I was like, hey, maybe these two can work together. And you can see here that they're at least starting on the path, so that's very exciting.
If I may, I think it's important to also remember that in these times, it's best, we are at the leading edge of technology. We are pioneers. I hate to use that term because it's so cliche, but there is truth to it. So it is incumbent upon those of us that are truly building infrastructure worthy of anybody's time to find the solutions necessary. And this is why, Astrabit and Vela are having this AMA today. I'm sorry, I mispronounced it. Vela are having this AMA today. This is not a fly by the seat of your pants type event. Astrabit and Vela have been talking to one another now since, I would say, almost early October. So all of this is being built with these problems in mind and coming up with solutions that will benefit all members as well as us as well. So that's about the best answer I think anyone can give, Ken.
I kind of hate, I'm totally with Nick, and I think it gets really cliche at this point to say builders and building in a bear market, that type of stuff, but it's truly, that's what's happening, right? I mean, you're seeing actual quality come out of this great filtration, and whether you agree with Mr. Wonderful or not, and who I know there's a lot of strong opinions on him right now from Shark Tank, when it came to the whole FTX situation, but he did say a few months back, one really good thing that's going to come from this giant bleeding that's happening in crypto is you're going to have one just major player really die, so that way growth can really form from that. So yeah, I mean, we are in a pioneer stage of crypto, and we're really building. So it's really cool to see all these new little innovations. Especially, I mean, the biggest one for me personally, for my selfish needs, is using a decentralized exchange with trading bots. So I need to see that ASAP so I can get things off centralized exchanges.
Yeah, same here.
I love Bybit, no offense, but we got to do something.
Well, you got the right two companies on here right now.
Exactly, yeah. That's why we wanted to get y'all talking, because I know, with given all this with FTX, people are losing their minds, and then now we got all the Binance FUD that's going around. That FUD or not, I don't know. But the point is, it is at the end of the day, it is a centralized exchange, and you don't have the full control over your funds like you should. And just the security around it too is something that people need to be wary of, because at any time they could halt it. So having that self custody to be on the DEX and everything is just, in my opinion, is huge, and especially when you can add in bots, that are as good as Astrabits and what they do and how they build it. That's not just swing trade; it's swing trade bots, and with their scalpers and stuff like that. Astrabit, you guys have also added recently Dr. David Bauer, who's leading the machine learning and AI, and taking charge to kind of optimize those strategies and just improve those. That's exciting, I guess, on your guys' end, if you want to speak on that.
I'll let Wes jump in a moment to talk about some of the products. I'll give a little bit of background. Dr. David Bauer was leading the industry in cognitive computing and AI technologies to identify potential countermeasures to global security threats. He has, he developed AI solutions that outperformed Google, Amazon, IBM, and Microsoft in analyzing and providing the White House Coronavirus Task Force with actionable intelligence that predicted population spread of COVID. He was part of that team from 2020 to 2022. He was part of the Pentagon's Joint Artificial Intelligence Center. He has built numerous, he's currently building a federated AI system at the moment. We're not going to get into explicit detail. But yes, Astrabit has been for some time wanting to implement artificial intelligence in machine learning, doing it properly. And I think we need to tread carefully as we move forward with AI and ML in this space. I'm already seeing a lot of memes, a lot of chatter from different people, different sectors, about how they're incorporating this AI strategy or this ML technique, etc., etc. I think it's really incumbent upon all of us to ensure that the people who are driving these technologies are the people who really have the qualifications to do it. Otherwise, what we're going to see is another panoply of systems, or rather projects that quote unquote are AI, ML optimized, and people are going to race into them. So tread carefully, look for the people who are really, who have the experience, who have the know-how, who are really doing things. And yes, Cam, you were correct. We'll circle back to that, and I'll hand it over to Wes so he can describe it a little bit more. But the first product that Astrabit will be releasing in the coming weeks and months is a machine learning AI abstraction layer that will be available to our exclusive strategists. That will, it's a heuristic machine learning mechanism, and Wes will describe things more, but it will allow the strategists to constantly optimize their strategies to current market conditions, which, the predominant driving force of that is to reduce strategy decay, which we can talk about later. But having said all that, I'm going to hand it over to Wes, who can provide us with more information on how that's coming along, the timeline, and what it's intended to do.
All right. So for this specific product, came out of more of a need for necessity, just based on time and automation. For each individual strategy that a strategist brings to our platform, they're all different, and they have different time frames and things they're doing, and they don't hold true forever in most cases. There is fundamental market shifts, technical shifts, bias shifts that degrade strategy performance over time, because you're essentially fitting the data of when your backtest is over X amount of months or years, and then everything after that that is newer becomes a new paradigm. So we see this a lot when, I think especially the end of this bull market, we had a fundamental shift of a lot more regulation coming into play, exchanges falling out, 3 Euros capital falling out, a lot of that, and that fundamentally affects the market drivers behind the scenes as well as the technicals on there. And it's hard to keep that in sync with each other without constantly retuning. So the design behind this product is that we have a way of constantly running through optimizations on whatever indicator, whatever product our strategists want to offer, and they get the real time results of the best SEO, search engine optimization, can offer for whatever their strategy, their closed system is, and then they offer the best results they can get out of what they have to our customer base, our users, and just to help keep Astrabit on a next level as a platform, because we have seen other platforms similar that have failed due to lack of quality in what they are offering with either their own internal things or their third-party offerings. And that's a very important part of long-term sustainability.
And I want people in the audience to understand too, with when it comes to machine learning and with artificial intelligence that's helping shape these algorithms that these strategists have created, it's not just a simple, I want the bot to make 5,000% this year, and the bot, the algorithm does it. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's very intensive, and you have to set like exact parameters. I may be speaking above my head if anybody wants to jump in, but it's not. There's a lot more involved too, and it's just not like AI is the Terminator coming to take over the world. You have to program it to do stuff, and it can only do exactly what you program it to do. I mean, is that around about right?
Yeah, this is kind of limited AI in the fact that you're plugging in numbers to get numbers, and you're just trying to find the best results on the back end of this. Like, to give an example, when you do this manually, depending on how many parameters you have, it can take hours, or if it's larger, even weeks and months, to find and tune an indicator you have to settings that work for the period you're backtesting on. And then you might not even have the best ones. You might have decent ones that get good returns, but you probably don't have the best ones. Like, for instance, the initial tests we ran on one of Astrabit's indicators, over 18 months backtested, it 10x'd the backtested results from what we were currently running to what the process, the optimizer, found itself. So that's the kind of performance increase we're talking about, an order of magnitude, probably at least in most.
And that's massive.
Yeah, the other thing too I think that's important that hasn't been mentioned yet is that the strategist will be able to use this tool to optimize any coin pairing on any time frame across any exchange. And that's something that should be touched on briefly, is that because every exchange, and this harkens back to me saying crypto space is very balkanized, it's very fractured. Because of that, it means you have different market participants behaving differently on every single exchange. And as we know, that opens opportunities for things like arbitrage, etc., etc. But what it also means is that a strategy can be optimized in one of several ways. You can optimize it and then homogenize it so that all signals enter across all exchanges, regardless of what exchange you're on, etc., which is generally how the Astrabit system tends to work. But it is absolutely, Astrabit is designed so that that can be disaggregated, and the strategists can optimize the strategy for individual exchanges as well, to take advantage of that exchange variance. So, and there's an entire article in the Astrabit library about exchange variance, with some mathematics in there if you're interested. But I think what we're trying to build here, and it's taking several months, this is not something that's being done overnight, is something that can be tremendously flexible. It can be applied, like I said, to multiple asset classes, which will include, hopefully, foreign currencies and things like that, strategies for those particular assets. And again, this is another reason why there is some real synchronicity and harmony that exists between Astrabit and Vela, especially since Vela will be incorporating some of those derivatives and those types of assets on the exchange as well. So it's really going to open up an opportunity for our strategists to offer their customer base the absolute best results, back-tested, and then fine-tuning that to the current market.
And you said they could essentially use it for any coin pairing on any DEX or centralized exchange that you guys, Astrabit, is linked to.
Correct.
Yeah, that's.
And we can keep recursively doing that week over week to make sure that there's no slippage between the most optimal market data at any given point. Go ahead, Austin, I cut you off.
No, you're good, you're good. This kind of leads me to a question that's both for Astrabit and Vela, is that a lot of people, they have, conspiracies around USDT, just a lot of drama around it, a lot of speculation, conspiracies. Like, with all that being said, is both Astrabit and Vela, are you all trying to explore options of, broadening to using USDC or BUSD for, pairings to the things we're able to trade and bot trade with?
Yeah. For us, hey, Travis, you can take it if you want, or I can take it.
Yeah. I was going to say that's a key question, and one of our differentiators is we looked at the current DEXs where you can trade perpetuals and sort of how their vaults are structured, and we wanted to go with a safe play that allows us to share liquidity across different pairs. For example, if you look at some of our competitors, right, there might be 5 million in liquidity for AVAX, but there's only 500,000 for ETH or something else, right? And so you're sort of segmented to how much you can trade based on the asset of collateral you're providing. Vela's vault is exclusively in USDC, so you'll call a smart contract function to deposit your USDC into the vault, and then your credited dollars on the exchange, and you can trade with that collateral. So in that way, our vault is entirely stable. It's entirely USDC, and that allows us to not only reduce the risk in terms of asset volatility, but also share liquidity across the different assets that you're trying to trade.
Yeah, just to jump in, T, with the USDT FUD, we've been on that bandwagon since like day -1. It sucks to say, but USDC, even though they're a centralized entity, there's a certain element of trustworthiness in knowing that they are much more transparent and actually show the backing of the US dollar within their vaults. We've worked with their team extensively and been in communications, and I think there's a further relationship there that can help define kind of our partnership with stablecoin teams. When we did, like Travis mentioned, when we initially started building out Vela, we did have a hook into DAI and USDT, and you could kind of use whatever stablecoins you wanted, so we could be flexible, but we ended up restricting everything down to USDC. We haven't made any decisions on BUSD yet, and we certainly won't be supporting that day one. But I think transparency and being able to understand the volatility of a stablecoin is key for us to build trust, if that's going to be the key piece of collateral within the platform.
Yeah, and as far as Astrabit goes, we're essentially, as Wes put it, sweetie, we are a pair agnostic. We can set up our trading bots on any coin, any pairing, based on our strategist needs and our customer needs.
Yeah, and I noticed. I see. What was his name? I seen him in the audience, but there's so many people here now. It's like Sweden. There we go, Sweden. I see him. He's using Astrabit bots to. It's so cool. So shout out to him. I see him on Twitter sometimes building AVAX with the profits you guys make, because you can do the inverse perpetuals. Or not the inverse perpetuals, the actual, where instead of earning USDT as profit, you're earning the actual coin or token that you're trading. So in this case, we're talking about AVAX or Bitcoin, anything like that. If you're bullish on these long term, you make that profit in that actual asset, and then over time, you're also banking on the price appreciation. Right now, where we're in a down market, a lot of people are using that. So it is really cool to even just use Astrabit and trading bots and stuff to just farm Ethereum, Bitcoin, AVAX, if that's what you want to do. So I like the whole USDC thing. I think that would be something pretty cool to implement, because I'm telling you, I don't see Tether doing anything crazy, but if it were to happen, man, there's a lot of tinfoil hats out there.
Well, it's not necessarily tinfoil. Let me step in here as somebody who's actually had bond portfolios for a living. Let me quickly just address the USDC, BUSD, etc. timeline for Astrabit. Yes, we've already implemented USDC on BitGet. We already have inverse perpetuals on Bybit, and I also believe KuCoin as well. Predominantly, as we're all aware, the USDT is the driving stable coin of the market. And so what is that? Let's talk about that. The simple truth of the matter is, nobody really knows. What we do know is that it's a portfolio of bonds. And what's very important to understand about bonds is that yield to maturity affects price. So I'm going to go very quickly into what that means, so that hopefully all of you can garner a better understanding. So if the US government, let's say, issues a zero coupon bond, that means they don't pay any interest on the bond. You may say, well, who would want to purchase a bond that doesn't pay you interest revenue? A lot of people do. There are a lot of reasons for purchasing zero coupon bonds, like reinvestment risk, etc., reinvestment risk mitigation, etc., etc. We're not going to get into that. But how do you make money on a zero coupon bond? Well, the simple truth of the matter is you do so because the market has a market yield. Now, if the bond itself does not meet market expectations, then you discount that bond, right? So in the case of a zero coupon bond, let's say interest rates, market interest rates, I'm not talking about Fed interest rates, I'm talking about the yield to maturity for a 10-year treasury. Let's say it's 5%. Well, the bond isn't offering you 5% for that. So what ends up happening is a complex calculation goes into determining what price you need to purchase that bond today so that when you redeem the bond in 10 years, you will have earned the equivalent of 5% per annum, compounding over 10 years. That is why yield to maturity and price in bonds are inverse. Because when a bond is issued, whether it has a coupon or not, that coupon remains unchanged. So if a corporate bond is issued at 5% and it's a 30-year bond, it'll be a 5% 30-year bond for the entire 30 years, regardless of what interest rates in the marketplace are doing. So interest rates could go to 20%. The market could be demanding 25% yield to maturity, and your bond is only offering a 5% interest per annum. It's not a very appealing bond, so it's discounted. Now, how is this imperative and important when determining USDT, when looking at USDT? Well, we know from disclosures that Tether is a bond-backed instrument. It's only got about 2% in actual US dollars. So what we need to then understand is, well, when were all those bonds purchased? What type of bonds are they? Are they junk bonds? Are they bonds based in China for real estate companies that are now going bankrupt? All of these things are incredibly important to understand the actual securitized value of USDT. We don't have that information. So how do we know that USDT is actually pegged to the US dollar, other than because Tether says so and the market says, okay, well, we'll agree with that? So it's very important to understand what USDT really is. It's not a coin, it's a security. It is backed by a pool of bonds that none of us know what the maturities are. We don't know what the coupons are on those bonds. We don't even know what country they come from, except that Tether says at least 50% of them, or 51% of them, are US government bonds, which are in the financial world considered zero risk. The US Treasury sets the risk-free rate. We won't get into those details now. That's deep finance. So how do we know if Tether is matched one-to-one? Because if suddenly everybody starts to want to redeem their Tether, and the bond portfolio of Tether is 50 billion, but there are outstanding obligations, that is, all of you who hold Tether, to the tune of 100 billion, Tether actually then has to start selling those bonds into the open market to obviously change that into US dollars so that you can then get your currency when you withdraw. But if those bonds are undervalued or the market isn't willing to pay for them, then it's impossible to say what the true value of Tether is. We also don't know what their rebalancing mechanism is. So it's an immensely complex bond portfolio that is backing Tether, and nobody knows anything about it. So be very careful when you say, oh, I want to hold all my money in Tether. Now, this is not to create FUD or anything of that sort. My crystal ball is as useless as yours when trying to determine the future of Tether. But the reason why I think people are gravitating towards USDC is because it is a Coinbase, or I think a company that the subsidiary is Circle or something like that. Yeah, Circle. And they actually back the USDC with US dollars. And the reason for that is actually, in this instance, good US regulation. Because if it's not backed by currency, then it can't claim to be a currency. would have to claim to be a security, in which case it then has to be registered, it then has to be, only certain people can trade it, etc., etc. There becomes a whole different ballgame. So USDC backed away from having a bond-based securitization code, and instead went back to a one-to-one US dollar to one USDC. Now, does that necessarily make it a safe coin to be in? No, I don't think so. I don't know enough about it to say yes or no. Suffice it to say that Coinbase is a US company, Circular, I believe, is also a US-based company, and we should celebrate that fact. We should celebrate it because the United States has some of the best financial laws and regulations, and any company that is based in the United States must act in accordance with those laws and regulations. So I anticipate, though I have no proof of this, I anticipate that at the end of the day, USDC is going to be considered a more safe asset than USDT. I certainly would prefer to be in USDC over USDT. Now that's not to say that USDT won't go on to live a long and healthy crypto life. It very well may. But these are things that you need to understand before you race in and say, oh, I'll just trade, USDT linear swaps, or I'll just, hold my currency in USDT for now and then buy Bitcoin later. So it's all of this circles back to, I think, Sweden, I think it's Sweden actually. I've seen him post on Twitter. He's a pretty savvy fellow actually. It circles back to the notion of, well, are you here to really trade in and out of fiat currency or a fiat proxy, which is USDT and USDC? Or are you here to accumulate an asset that you believe is going to have future value that surpasses the expectations of, or that surpasses the value of USDC, USDT, and even the US dollar? And we've seen with Bitcoin, it clearly surpasses the value of the US dollar. So these are all things you need to take into consideration when you are trading. I hope I didn't just bore everyone to sleep here.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I think, like you said, people definitely need to understand that too, because I know we've had the questions, about it too. Everybody sees a FUD with USDT, and just for people to understand. So I mean, it was good. I appreciate that. But we are going to move on to, we'll just talk about security for a moment on both sides. I know that Astrabit, we'll just say for example, recently, I probably say within the last month, I think it was 3 commas. They also sell trading bots. I believe they had an API attack where they were able to get in there and then I believe transfer and withdraw funds out from those APIs. And then even Binance mentioned something earlier about having API issues and hackers get in there as well. What does Astrabit do on their end to prevent stuff like that from happening? And they protect people's data. Do they encrypt the data? Do you encrypt APIs? Stuff like that.
Before we even had a customer base, a client base, Nick and I, we discussed this, and because I've been victim to some hackings, actually on 3Com, and I've lost a significant amount of money, which was, it was, Astrabit, the idea of Astrabit was almost kind of born out of that. And so when we started building Astrabit's infrastructure, we built it with security in mind. And some of our biggest initial investments, our larger investments, were based on security, even when we didn't even have any customers or clients in the very beginning. So what does that mean is that we have on every single system that we have, all our data is encrypted, hashed on there. We keep user data off reachable systems. It's all on internal, heavily encrypted. We also are linked up with an AI ML anomaly-based detection system. So every single one of our systems, there is an agent that is constantly monitoring that probably blows up Gabe's phone and emails, my phone and emails, for any little change. I mean, when I say it blows it up, it's because it was like, hey, are you sure this happened? Are you sure this happened? Just basic, user things that we have to go in there and say, okay, yeah, that's good, that's good. So any anomaly that's detected on any one of our internal or external systems, we monitor 24/7. So something, if somebody were to attack our system, similar to what happened with 3 comma, even if they did break into our system, got bypassed our ML/AI detection systems and our encryption, our stuff still hashed, and we tell all our users that Astrabit does not require the API permissions to include withdrawal or transfer. So even if they got, a nation state attacked us, still had this, and they gained your APIs, they decrypted and dehashed all these things. We tell our users, do not allow the API permissions with withdrawal or transfers. So they could essentially they could trade with it if they went after it, but it's highly unlikely, and we take security extremely serious here at Astrabit because we've been a victim to some of its downfalls. Nick, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I actually had something to add real quick. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that so we practice security internally, but then also we kind of preach it to our users as well, right? So kind of making sure the users are aware to kind of use two-factor authentication. So really making sure that we preach security on both sides of the fence, obviously on our side, but also try to inform our users as well the best way to protect their accounts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just
Thanks, Gabe.
a follow on, Gabe, thank you very much. We have now it's also with our institutional users, we have a trifurcated system. So what that means is, let's not talk about the institutional side now, let's talk about just the retail side. It's bifurcated. In other words, everything you see on your dashboard, everything you see, all of that information that comes through your API is separate from the trading mechanism itself. The trading mechanism is housed in a separate, system. What that means is someone could DDoS, someone could totally take out the dashboard. They could play around if they could get through, like Lindsay said. If they could break through all of that, right? The most they could really do is damage to the dashboard, or the most damage they could do to you personally is to enter you or exit you from a trade. Right? So, worst case scenario, you're sitting in Starbucks, you leave your laptop open to Astrabit, and some nefarious individual sort of slides in and puts you in a Bitcoin long. And that's another thing. Every bot trades one coin individually, and we've done that very specifically. And part of that is security, right? So if you're trading 10 different coin pairs on Astrabit, the person who manages to hack into your Astrabit account or manages to sit down and start fiddling with your Astrabit account in Starbucks, they're going to have to go to every single bot that you own and press a button. And it's not going to be too long before you realize what's been done, right? So these are all different means by which we enable, and sometimes, yes, we sacrifice speed for security. But these are all things and measures that we take to really secure you and your assets on Astrabit. Of course, we can never guarantee what happens on an exchange.
Yeah, and then just a quick follow-up on that. So as far as users' credit card information, we do not store that. That's stored on a third-party site, our merchant services site, so that is safe and protected. We also, as far as the IP addresses, our users' IP addresses are not directly linked to an exchange either. We actually one of our very first problems, we had to develop a mechanism to bypass some API throttling and stuff like that to ensure that our users are, as soon as their strategy is executed, boom, that it is going to be answered by an exchange if the exchange accepts it. Obviously, we've had some issues with KuCoin and stuff like that, kind of rejecting some things, but that's not on us. But it also has a secondary security feature, which thus protects our clients from any abuse from the exchanges. So that's all I have.
Perfect.
Yeah, it masks your API not your API, excuse me, your IP as well, which is why you can trade on any of the exchanges that Astrabit has implemented. You can trade on them without a VPN because the exchange doesn't know who it is.
Yeah, perfect. And then Dan and Travis with Vela, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not too familiar with dexes and perpetual dexes, and I believe you guys also said that it's more of you guys kind of house like synthetic assets versus like holding real assets, or I could be wrong with that, or you do a mix of both. So how exactly when somebody connects their wallet, MetaMask, Aurochs, whatever it is, to Vela, what do you guys do to protect users who the only users in?
Sure. So the great thing about a DEX is we never touch your money, right? So if you look at the whole SBF fiasco and how client funds were commingled with Alameda Research, et cetera, but that's not possible with us, right? So you hold your private keys, you have self-custody of your funds, you are able to open trades, close trades, and deposit and withdraw, and it's all smart contract driven, right? So from our perspective, it's a whole different suite of security risks that aren't necessarily related to like API hacks or anything like that. We have to look at smart contract safety. We have to have audits on our code. We have to have our code public so that others can read it and ensure that there aren't any vulnerabilities, right? So we're currently going through a hack and audit right now with Hacken, who's a really good auditing group. And we've also got some internal audits going on with some developers from the community as well to ensure that our code doesn't have these type of exploits, right? We've also implemented controls on the amount that you can leverage, the total amount of open interest that any one asset can have, long or short. And so this protects the vault if one asset flash crashes to zero, for example, then open positions for that asset would be turned off, right? And so we've got these sort of controls and levers in place that we can edit to say how much collateral can be used for which assets and things like that. In terms of customer funds, it's all smart contract driven, and we don't have access to their money. So a lot of the scenarios that you see with CEXs where people's money suddenly disappears, that's because when you deposit on a CEX, you're essentially sending money to their wallet, right? And then they can do that. They have the private keys. They can do whatever they want with their funds. It's not the case on a DEX, and so there's an extra layer of safety, I would call it, where you have custody of your private keys and thus you control your funds.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you guys used to be DEX pool, or what's your connection to DEX pool and like the DXP tokens? And I think there's supposed to be like a 1-to-1 swap for Vela.
That's right. So when we started this, Dan and I worked previously at Boston Consulting Group, doing mostly Web 2 projects for the consulting firm, and we decided to leave to jump into DeFi. This is not my first DeFi endeavor because I've been in the industry so long. But our first target was OTC. Right? I used to and still do buy into a lot of coins, low market cap coins, new ICOs, things like that, and I found them to be illiquid. And so I wanted a good peer-to-peer, smart contract-driven platform to OTC tokens, because a lot of times these early tokens have very small liquidity pools, where if you want to trade more than $10,000, you're going to really affect the price, you're going to get a lot of slippage, etc. And so a lot of OTC action just happens on random Telegram chats and Discord chats and trusting strangers with their money. And we sort of thought, there has to be a better way, right? So we launched our OTC app at the beginning of this year and had some pretty good early traction until the bear market kind of hit right after consensus. And we saw it kind of fall off a cliff, right? Launch pads aren't really launching much anymore, and a lot of that action has dried up. And so we looked at, number one, where are people still trading? Where is there still volume? Where is there action? And we saw the perpetuals market and saw a huge opportunity there, as I alluded to earlier, with the speed and low cost of L2s like Arbitrum and others, to build a decentralized perpetuals trading platform. So we pivoted from OTC to perps, That being said, we actually are seeing, quite a nice uptick on our OTC platform, especially with the DXP token. And so we may in the future, because we have those smart contracts written, they've been audited, they work, incorporate OTC back into Vela Exchange at some point. But to start, we're launching with perpetuals. So early investors of the DXP token, that will be exchangeable 1-for-1. That's why you see a lot of action on the DXP token right now. So those who hold DXP will simply be able to swap it for the Vela token whenever we mint that token.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to gear up because they saw what, GMX tokens and what it did. So they're kind of seeing with the Vela being the next big thing. So they're trying to get, that DXP while it's cheaper. So you guys just got out of alpha, and I was happy to be a part of that and help, hopefully contribute to a couple of ideas and some bugs and stuff. And I was impressed with it, just a little bit that I saw. I saw the announcement y'all did the other day that was public beta goes January 18th, I think it was. Yeah, on the 18th. Now, are you guys gonna have this like free for all, open to everybody, or is it gonna be limited public beta?
Yeah, it's going to be an open beta. So those of you that signed up on our beta emails, you will likely get first access. So we don't have a timeline on how much advantage you get just on the testing side, but it will give you an edge in terms of incentives related to the public beta. And then anyone that does want to come in will be able to test it on the Arbitrum mainnet chain. So we're super excited about that. Alpha was very successful. Even though it's private, we were able to test it to a certain amount of scale and get a ton of one-on-one time with our ambassadors, original team members, original community members as well, just to get feedback and understand kind of where they saw pain points in the application and where we can make it as smooth as possible. So a lot of focus on like making the UX as easy to use as possible, and then also optimizing any of the trading management and trading functionality that we've been promising.
And also, just to add on to that, with any perps platform, right, you don't want to launch with no liquidity, right? And so what we're going to do is roll out the public beta on Arbitrum mainnet, and we're also going to have a program called hyperstaking, where we incentivize you guys as traders to stake in the platform early to get extra Vela tokens. And so we'll be sharing a lot of information about hyperstaking as well. But the idea there is that we open the public beta with small amount of liquidity, and then as more people come into the platform and we hit certain tiers of liquidity in the vault, those who stake early get those Vela token rewards, which then the Vela token gives you access to more fees from the platform, but also lower trade fees and things like that. So there's a lot going around the public beta in terms of not only getting early access and trading on the platform, but also staking on the platform and seeing better UIs.
And how long y'all planning to run beta? And then those who do get to join beta, will they have any like perks or incentives?
Yeah, I'll take this. So we're gonna run it for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll roll it into a mainnet official launch. The participants will be rewarded in a few ways. We've had a lot of rumors about airdrops that is likely to be true in some format. So you will see those details revealed over the next few weeks during the holidays. So we're planning to basically do one big reveal each week up until our public beta launch date. The VLP or early liquidity program that Travis mentioned is going to be huge. Your standard rewards from just minting VLP and staking it has already offered you 50 to 55% of the protocol revenue in terms of reward share. Just holding the VLP token and participating in the early liquidity program, which is going to start a little bit prior to beta, is going to qualify you for a much larger pool on top of the existing rewards. So there's kind of all angles of attack when it comes to rewards that you can get. So a lot of people are excited. Unfortunately, I'm not going to reveal more than that, just because we have a unveil program that is going to kick off next week with our first kind of reveal, and then stay tuned to see the rest.
All right, so Yeah. I know, like, just based off the alpha and what we saw too. Like, and you already said that the beta is going to be mind blowing. So I can't wait for it. You need to get Austin in that beta as well.
Yeah. What's going on, man? I'm checking my DMs and I don't see anything about any beta access. I feel some type of way. No, I have one final question, and then I don't have really any other questions. If Cam, you want to open it up to the community we have some questions from the community here. But I had one for Astrabit when it came to the staking side of things. Is there any plans? Because right now, for anybody that don't know, Astrabit not only does trading bots, and this is actually one cool thing that I'm personally doing, is I'm using one of the bots called Cinnamon Toast, where it only has a $20,000 capital trading limit. So it's kind of useless to just have where I use 5x leverage with the initial in there that I have. It's kind of useless to have any excess in that same pot. So I keep a little bit in there just in case it takes a loss. It can recoup and get back to that max 20K tradable amount. So the rest I just bleed over, or I can bleed over into that staking pool, where instead of just holding that asset, it's not doing anything. It's earning a little bit of a yield. So diving a little bit more deep into the staking side of things, which is free, by the way, you don't need a membership or anything. Are you guys planning on expanding on that more, or like where are you guys at with just scaling that up and building onto it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely, the answer is 100% yes. We were hoping to release a far more in-depth product in early December, but due to outside events, we weren't able to. We're planning on a January release. It will include the USD, it'll include all sorts of assets, USDT. I mean, I'm technically, when it comes to staking, I'm not the person to talk about it. Technically, actually, John is. Unfortunately, he can't be there. But to answer your question very simply, yes, there's going to be a massive expansion on that side of Astrabit, including adding the Polygon network. I think also PNB, there's some Constellation, all sorts of things like that in the pipeline. And a lot of that will be coming to the forefront in the first week of January.
You actually just caught my attention when you said Constellation. So if anybody doesn't know, I'm very, very bullish on Constellation. So that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, so we've been talking with them for a while. So
nice.
We tend to move slowly. Better to do it right, or as best as possible, than to rush and to release something that's ultimately very faulty. That doesn't say that doesn't mean that we haven't released things that have been faulty. We have, and probably will continue to do so. But it's better to try and do things correctly from the start.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Cam, that was my final question. If you kind of wanted to get into the audience questions, and if anybody wants to kind of read along with us, it's right below the AMA room. You'll see the submit AMA questions. It's now locked, so that's the questions we'll be pulling from.
Yeah. Real quick though, I see that there's a couple that have their hands raised, so I'm going to bring up one at a time, and then if there's anybody else who wants to come up and ask a question, then feel free to raise your hand, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, my question is for Vela Exchange. It's regarding the products that we see. But the stock lecture is a complete very helpful to. Can we expect more advanced treasures like that?
Is it just my end, or is he breaking up for you guys as well?
I was about to say, I think
Yeah, I didn't really understand the question. Was the question about advanced trade types, or was it something else? Yeah, so all of that stuff we have integrated for the public launch. You'll be able to set trailing stop losses, take profit, stop loss, and things like that. We also are integrating a lot of UI features from the community, such as setting certain percentages of your amount of free collateral that you want to trade versus having to enter a number and stuff like that. So we've taken a lot of feedback. Dan, you can probably speak to it more than I can, but something like over 100 tickets from the community, from the private alpha, and have been hard at work making sure that number one, we've got the smart contracts updated to support those, and we're running our on-chain keepers to make sure that trades are triggered on time and quickly. Because some of the feedback from other exchanges, or DEXs rather, is that sometimes the triggers aren't executed on time, or the price moves when before it's supposed to be triggered, and so on. And so we're pretty proud of what we've got, and I think you guys would like to experience some of the advanced trading features.
Yeah, to add on to T and what he said about the advanced trading features, I think there's probably 2 or 3 major ones that we've added since even the alpha. One is being able to separate out the concept of an order or trigger from a position. Originally, we had those kind of tied together, so you could have one ETH position and set like one rule against it, and now you can set essentially multiple rules, however many you want, against one position, and then attach the same type of rule sets with different tool sets to another position. So imagine you set an ETH long position and you want to take profit 3 different times, like one when it hits a limit of a certain profit, and then afterwards you want to set another one. You can do that. You can also set stop losses against that same order. With another position, you could simply set up another group of those orders together so that you have a mixed batch of different risk management positions between longs and shorts. As many positions as you want across as many assets with any type of order position triggering types on those, which is awesome. We don't see a lot of DEXs being able to offer something like that, and it is because like infrastructure-wise, it is a bit difficult. But we took the time to optimize that, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have the beta in January versus like rushing it for December. I think the other things like Travis mentioned were the ability to kind of see things from the UI perspective very easily. So when you set multiple take profits in a row, for example, you can quickly set a percentage to take profit and see kind of how that changes as your trade matures and goes up and down. You can also see your funding rate, and like everything's very transparent to you, which is not the same on a lot of DEXs at this point. So between separation of positions and order triggers all the way to kind of how you view and the data surrounding your trades to make better decisions, we've enhanced those things to a degree that I think will set us apart.
So in the meantime, while we're waiting on him, Astrabit, real quick, something that I've also been wondering too, is there future plans to get like notifications when bots, open close trades, and then is there going to be, an actual mobile app for Astrabit?
I will answer. So let's address this question, multiple questions. First being, will we have notifications? Okay. So we did have notifications outside, of course, the Astrabit dashboard, where people were able to get information sent to their phone, their email, etc., etc. What we found, unfortunately, was that people would take that information and then resell that information from our strategists in Telegram channels. That's happened on multiple occasions. We actually have a strategist in this chat right now to whom that happened. And we immediately pulled that feature out. So we can turn that switch back on at any moment. It's really more about protecting the user base and protecting the strategists who are looking to us to sell their product to their marketplace. The next is you can actually implement signals from your exchange. So you can get those signals. The exchange can notify you when you enter a trade. And in a way, that's almost better, because if anything happens to the Astrabit dashboard and you don't get notified, at least your exchange will notify you. And sort of almost like a two-factor type verification system. So if Astrabit enters you into a trade, and you can see that on your dashboard, and the exchange sends you a text message, or however you prefer message receipt method, you can then see, and my exchange has confirmed that trade as well. So that you can do that. Now, with regards to the latter part of your question, do you mind repeating it for me, Cameron, just to remind me?
Is there going to be an actual Astrabit mobile app, or is it just going to be like a website only?
No, so there will be an actual Astrabit mobile app. Of course, we contend with one of the major business issues of anybody who develops an app and sells it on the Apple platform or the Google platform. You have to any sale that you make on the app, Apple takes a 30% chunk of. So that's the predominant reason. It's a business choice at this point in time. But since this recent court case between Apple and I think it was EA or one of these game companies, I think it was Fortnite actually, that has now changed. And what we will probably end up doing is building an app that you can manage your trades, you can do all of that. You can't actually purchase anything on it. Because the moment you purchase anything through the app, we are required to pay Apple 30% of that sale, which we're just not prepared to do. So you'll have to purchase Astrabit products via desktop, but you'll be able to use a more sophisticated and manageable mobile app. That, however, is not, I mean, ultimately the job of Astrabit is to help our members make money. If I asked you, would you rather us release a machine learning AI mechanism that streamlines everything and makes it and augments it and you get a 10 times return on your money, or would you prefer a mobile app? I think 99.9% of people are going to say, give me the money, make me money. So that's another reason. These are all business decisions. We have, as any company has finite resources, and we have to allocate those resources to their most efficient use. And that's the only reason why we haven't implemented that feature and why we took away the notification feature.
Hi, good day. Sorry, I was a bit late to the EMA, so I just had a couple of questions. First, you were just speaking about you can do like multiple orders. So I was wondering, like so the other DEX perps they have, like to place an order, you need to pay gas. I was wondering about if it's the gasless orders or if it's on chain, everything on chain or gasless orders, or you have to pay gas for every order you place. And I was wondering if there will be anything like trading contests after you guys launch to encourage liquidity. Right, thanks.
Sure. And I'll let Dan speak to the trading contests because I don't want to give anything away by accident. But in terms of gas, yeah, I mean that is that's a reality of a DEX. Is you will need gas token to call a contract, right? Now we also, in the spirit of expanding the tent and making sure Vela is as easy to onboard for as many people as possible, we partnered with Transact to provide a fiat on-ramp. So you're able to buy either USDC or Ethereum on Arbitrum directly through the app, and it's deposited into your wallet. So you don't need to necessarily bridge from L1 to L2 or use a bridge to get to Vela. So, we hope to make it as easy as possible to get your gas tokens and your USDC onto Vela. But that being said, yeah, if you are interacting with a smart contract, you will need to pay the gas.
Yeah, and I think the question was pretty good too. And it was a little bit more about the technical background too, like how does it work? If you set up like say 5 take profit triggers on a single trade, and how does gas interact with the contracts there, Travis?
Yeah, so when you set up a trigger, that's also a contract call. In essence, what you're doing is giving permission and collateral to a keeper on our side to deploy that collateral at a certain price. So on our end, when you call the function to set up the trigger, you pay the gas to call that function. However, whenever we trigger that function, all of that is internal and we incur those gas costs. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was the answer I was looking for. Thanks.
Cool. And about the trading contest, yeah, I can't leak too much, but there will definitely be a competitive aspect to our launch process. So just keep an eye out for that news.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about that. So I'm gonna stay in the loop with that because I'm pretty sure everybody here can pretty much attest in Kingdom and in Cardinal House. There's a lot of traders that are very good that I think would pretty much benefit from.
Yeah, you guys seem like a competitive bunch.
I know this one from Light, he was asking, on the website, you guys, this is for Vela, you guys say, 100% self-custody by mitigating loss of funds through centralized custody and control of your funds. He's asking, if it's a centralized custody, does that mean you, the exchange, are in control of funds, and how is it exactly self-custody? I know we kind of touched on that earlier with, you guys don't have access to it, so I guess, could you kind of explain what that question is, or what that statement means?
Yeah, I'm trying to read it, so...
We might need to reword that if it's confusing, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like grammatically a little bit confusing, so...
Gotcha.
It says 100% self-custody by mitigating loss of funds through centralized custody and control your funds. So I think there's supposed to be like a comma or a change of words there, but it's basically saying like, don't lose your funds through centralized custody rather than saying we are taking centralized custody. So one is about rewards offered to token holders, stakers, liquidity providers, BLP minters and stakers. So this is the token to represent your backing of the perpetual vault, will be rewarded in the value of the vault increasing versus the amount of token, right? So if more people get liquidated and if people are not profitable and they're losing money, the vault will naturally go up and you're making returns, a certain percentage returns from fees back into the vault. On the other side, you will also get eVela, which is an escrow token. You can decide to either stake that as Vela token or invest it over, I think, 12 months in order to receive the actual token that will be transferable. So that's a percentage of both sides, right? You're getting return in the form of BLP value and also in terms of the Vela token. The Vela token is the center of our economy. So number one, it's going to allow you to receive about 15% of fees in the form of both USDT stablecoins, and then the other side is eVela. It will also be the place where you get your fee returns from our spot market that launches, OTC, any other applications that we launch under the Vela umbrella. So many ways that you can get rewards and many ways that you can contribute to the protocol and dive in on the incentives. As a token holder, do I passively receive these rewards by holding, or do I need to stake my tokens? Well, for some of the aspects, you'll need to stake. You will passively receive some rewards just by holding, but those are all described in the breakdown of the tokenomics, and there's a very good diagram within our white paper, which I encourage you to read if you are interested. How many chain tokens are offered by Vela Exchange for perpetual trading? And the second question there, what are the benefits of your platform over others like Binance, OKX, Bybit? So number one, in terms of tokens or cryptocurrency assets that are synthetic, we'll be offering 2 to 3 to start out with, and then we will have 4X as another type of asset, along with a novel token type that we're not announcing yet, that will be in the announcement for beta. It would not be related to a direct cryptocurrency or a 4X type of asset. So you can say probably 6 to 7 tokens available, or assets available from day one. What are the benefits of your platform? Well, the exchanges listed are all centralized, right? So you naturally have that self-custody element. We will also have, like we mentioned, a lot of the really complex and diverse strategies that you can set on a Binance. Perpetual futures versus like a decentralized exchange where like GMX, where you typically can't offer as many automated options to manage your trades and risk. That's a huge one. We also are not reliant on infrastructure like GMX that are tied into the original pool of tokens. So you can kind of see that over the last year they've struggled to add on any assets, and that's because of their infrastructure. So there's a lot of different benefits versus a CEX versus the decentralized ecosystem that we're competing against too. So once again, I encourage you to take a look at our materials, participate in the beta, and kind of compare yourself as well. And then the last one is kind of related, right? We talk about bridging the gap between CEX and DXs, but how can we actually bridge the gap? And I think that's by many things, but top of mind for myself and the team is number one, user experience, like we mentioned, being able to perform trades with more reliability, with more strategies, integrations with bots such as the Astrabit team, as well as being able to substitute some of the major functionality that CEX bring in. So Travis mentioned beyond onboarding and offboarding, we've been negotiating and integrating with many different partners that will be bringing those services in. So we're going to slowly be taking the things that make CEX so important and trying to bring them into our ecosystem as a place where you can trade and onboard, offboard your assets.
Nick, I want to jump in here real quick and ask you, I know we already touched on this, but with the AI and the machine learning and everything, once DEX start getting implemented, we're going to open up different exchanges. One of the questions was definitely MEXC, if you just want to touch on that real quick. And then after that, what I want to get at is, with the AI and everything you have coming out, especially on DEX, is the strategies that are available now are just going to be kind of like tip of the iceberg of what you can do with Astrabit trading bots on all these exchanges, correct? I mean, it's going to put, grid bots essentially to shame. It's going to put, you can do a whole slew of things. You could put these strategies directly onto DEXs. I don't know how much you go into it just with how things are, but can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. So Astrabit has 4 main milestones in machine learning and AI. We won't get into milestone 3 and 4 because that's much further down the track and also confidential. But milestones 1 and 2. Milestone 1 is this optimization tool, and milestone 2 is a pure ML AI trading strategy bot. So those are 2 products, and they will be able to be used across across any exchange. With regards to the AI tool, our first foray into the AI and ML space, the optimizer, that will really depend on what the strategist wants to do. So it's a tool that's designed to use machine learning mechanisms to constantly optimize or optimize it as frequently or infrequently as the strategist so chooses. And then they can, like I said, they can do it discretely per exchange. So if we talk about Vela, if Astrabit incorporates Vela into the Astrabit ecosystem, then a person trading on Vela can then choose a strategy that's Vela optimized, right? So that's if the strategist chooses to offer that. And I think this sort of ties into a very good question asked by Lund, which is what sort of tiers and things does Astrabit offer? I'm not sure exactly what he's asking there with regards to pricing tiers or anything like that, but I'm going to assume, for the sake of this discussion, that he's talking about choices and tiers of risk, tiers of return, etc., etc. So one of the other features that this machine learning product we're releasing is that it will enable strategists to take their strategy now and then optimize it based on risk parameters. So they may want to have a very high risk, high return strategy that makes thousands and thousands of % return, but you also have to swallow the potential to lose a large amount of money as well, large drawdowns, things that's here. Alternatively, they can set their risk parameter so there's very low risk, and the returns will reflect that as well. So there's going to be a lot of flexibility in this system, and with regards to implementation on individual exchanges, that's really going to be up to the strategists themselves. They'll have total control over all of that. So you could subscribe to a high-risk, high-return version of Cinnamon Toast, or a low-risk, more moderate return version of Cinnamon Toast. You could subscribe to Cinnamon Toast on the 15-minute or the hour, or whatever the strategist chooses to offer you. And that's what this tool will ultimately enable. Actually, yes, I'd like to address a question by Alex C1000. Oh, no, it's not Alex C1000. Is it? No, I'm sorry. Somebody else. With pertaining to... Oh, it's in the Astrabit channel. Pertaining to ease of use. So the Astrabit system provides you with your own flexibility. You have total control over everything. You can run a fully automated strategy that
You can set and forget. Literally set it and forget it, go live your life, and let the system just run for you. You can implement your own risk parameters that overrule or override any risk parameters implemented in the strategy itself by the strategist. So you have total control of that. You can also semi-automatically trade. So you can wait for the signal to come through. You can allow your bot to enter, and then you can literally drag and drop your take profits, your stop losses on your screen, and it changes in real time on the exchange itself. You can fully manually trade if you so choose. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can skin the cat. You can set your bot up such that you can have a one-click trading solution through Astrabit. So let's say you see the market moving and you want to enter immediately. Usually when you use an exchange's interface, you enter the trade, then you have to set your stop loss, you have to set your take profit, everything like that. With Astrabit, you can save your preset settings and just click long or click short, whatever position you want to take, and the Astrabit system, your bot, will put you into the trade at that price and immediately input all of your risk parameters, your return, your take profits. If you're using a DCA system, it'll follow your DCA protocols, all of that, just with one click of a button. And that's really what we're trying to do at Astrabit, is distill the trading experience for less experienced traders to a single click, or a drag and drop, or a sliding scale. It's got to be, we've made our user interface that simple. And so this then leads into the question about derivatives trading. Do you have to be do you have to be knowledgeable about trading derivatives? I mean, that's always a good thing, right? You want to know something about what you're getting into. You don't want to jump into a pool that's full of piranhas. You want to know if the pool's safe. But the truth of the matter is, Astrabit is designed to take that headache away from you. The strategists charge what they charge because they are the professional, and they are providing their strategy to your bot so that you can trade their system that has been shown to be profitable and make money in your sleep. So I hope that answers the question with regards to derivatives. There's also a question in there about education. I don't know if you want to address that, Cam, or anything like that. But really, you don't need to be a trading expert. The true anecdote that I use with regards to Astrabit is that I have a 76-year-old aunt who has the sophistication of a garden snail when it comes to technology. She once called me irate from a landline because she couldn't turn on her iPhone and that she'd just forgotten that it had to be charged. So she used Astrabit, right? So you do not have to be ultra sophisticated to use Astrabit. It is designed specifically to be a simple, seamless experience for you.
And it really is. But real quick, what I wanted to do is, for the little giveaway, Vela has decided to give out 100 DXP. However, it's going to be kind of interactive. So I'm about to post in the main chat. I'm going to tag here so everybody will get that. That's here. 2 questions. You'll have to answer both of them. And the first one to do that will win the 100 DXP. We'll work on that as we continue on with some quick questions. So, all right, it's posted now if you guys want to go take a look, and then we'll listen. To touch back what Nick was saying about with the education side of trading and stuff, if you just go into, like he said, it's not necessary with the trading bots. I mean, that's why they were designed for people, especially like me, who's not huge into trading. I would like to know more, working on it, but I don't. And so to know that I have these vetted projects that Astrabit has, just from what I know, have thoroughly gone through and they work with, they just don't let anybody into the marketplace. They do their due diligence. So to know that I can get a trusted strategy that's got proven results, you don't need to know trading at all. Like you don't have to know what a long and a short is, essentially. You can just pick the strategy you feel is right. You can ask people about it. We have, if you want to learn it, though, we do have plenty of traders in this Discord and the Cardinal House Discord. We can get you the link to that. Astrabit's Discord has stuff. I plan on putting stuff out a little bit here and there as I can. And then, yeah, so that's kind of like with the education side of it. I know, Austin, I think you do a little bit of stuff like that too. You get on live calls and do some trades and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, we do that over in Cardinal House all the time. We're actually doing it tomorrow. I usually like to do it during the market open, so I love doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to do that one day. I definitely don't have the skill set for that, but we'll get there.
Do they need to answer and add FTX to the integration supported by Astrabit in order to get it right?
It should be. FTX is taken out, right?
No, that's true. No, FTX is no longer supported by Astrabit for obvious reasons. That most people don't know about that is supported by Astrabit, and it is available to people if they really, really want to use it, but they have to ask for it. And I don't see anybody getting that yet. So,
all right. So real quick, while we're still looking at it, Johnny Be Good put out a good question, especially because I'm curious like this too on Vela's side. So the way that right now, if you have a trading bot, we'll just say Horace and Cinnamon Toast, they both trade Ethereum. Horace is a swing trade bot, and then Cinnamon Toast is a scalper. But again, they both trade Ethereum. Now, the way that works on a centralized exchange is you have to either use two different accounts, like two different centralized exchanges, or if you need a sub account for at least one of those bots. You have to split them. You can't run the same strategies like ETH running ETH. Now, with Vela, could something like that be possible, and how would something like that be possible?
I'm not familiar with those bots, but yes, I mean, theoretically that's possible, right? You could set up multiple accounts. Now remember, it's not trading, so you're not trading the actual asset itself. You're essentially betting long or short on which way the price is going. So the strategy may be different, but yes, you can have as many accounts as you have wallets on just like any other DEX trade.
yeah, let me just jump in and save Travis. You get a very good answer, and it's the correct one. The issue with you needing separate wallets and or separate bots, you can trade as many bots as you want from one account. That's not the problem. The problem is if you're trading the same coin pairing with multiple strategies. So, for example, if you have the Cinnamon Toast strategy and the Horror strategy and the ETH Gamma strategy, all three of those strategies trade Ethereum. If you're trading each of those strategies from the same account, and they're all going to sort of contradict one another, you may find, or they may not, they all still may move in the same direction, but what ends up happening is the exchange merges all positions into one. And so it all gets very, very messy in that regard. But as far as trading, if you're trading Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, whatever, that can all be done from the same wallet without any problem at all. And I imagine, I think, Cam, that was what you were touching on, is that particular problem, the problem of merging orders and whether Vela has that same issue.
Essentially, yeah. I know how Astrabit does it on their end, but I'm just wondering, like, with the decentralized exchange, like how a sub account would essentially work, or would you just have to create another wallet and link that? Basically, what I was saying, like, if you wanted on Astrabit, if you had the same coin pairing like Ethereum, and you had multiple strategies for that, you would have to separate them into either sub accounts or different accounts altogether. With Vela, like, is it sub accounts possible with Vela, or would you have to like essentially create like another wallet and add that?
Sorry, is this a Vela question or?
Well, never mind. We'll just yeah.
Sorry, I'm still looking at chat just everybody's answers.
Yeah.
Hey guys, unfortunately I have to hop out real quick. The girlfriend just made dinner, and I don't want to. You know how that is. I can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, you better run.
A mad girlfriend. Yeah, I gotta go run. Yeah. But hey, this was a really fun chat. I shot friend request over to Vela. I want to speak to you guys more because this is some really cool stuff that you guys are making, and I want to talk more about the decks and everything. So, and as always, Lindsay, Nick, it's a pleasure talking to you guys.
This is
Yeah,
great.
awesome.
Really appreciate the time. Enjoy the conversation.
Very much appreciated, guys.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, there's a hint. There are 2 diagrams. Read carefully what the diagrams say on the tokenomics front for VLP. Remember, it's VLP, not Vela token. It's a 2-token economy. So I see a lot of people probably reading a certain diagram and not the other one. So just a hint. And then Czar, would you say there's a hint, like, does a website represent all the supported exchange you guys are integrated into, or is there a more updated list?
No, the website does not reflect all of them. So you have to, it really caters to the members who can click on their dashboard and see which exchanges, except for one that's hidden right now because I think we have like one member of umpteen thousands that are actually using it. I'll give you all a hint. Astrabit only supports the 8 largest exchanges, or the 10 largest exchanges sexes at the moment. So if you can guess, you can look online what those 10 large exchanges are for both perpetuals and spot, and you can probably do. Right, Cam, thank you very much, everybody. This was a real pleasure. Cam, do you have anything you want to close out with?
To be honest with you, we covered a lot. I think as long as you guys kind of got what you wanted to get out, the main stuff for now, I think that's good. We can always come back and do a second one later and cover more questions if need be. But kind of to recap, Astrabit is a top tier, trading bot. That's not, and they just don't do trading bots, but they have a lot. And it's, if you're an institution out there, if you're a project looking to trade treasuries or something, help with that. You can do that. If you're a trader with quite a large following, for example, we can help you build strategies out. You don't even need a large following, for example, but we can help you get your strategies out there, build that marketplace out. Astrabit's doing a lot, especially with the artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's just going to be mind blowing when that's, with everything coming out with that. I will say though, I'm gonna do a little plug real quick. If you do want to sign up as a new user, you can get 20% off your first month by using code Austin Clark, or you can use Aviator. Either one works. You can try those bots out and see how well they do. And then Vela, I appreciate everybody coming on for here. I think we'll wrap this up and just kind of let the questions play themselves out because it's kind of funny seeing everything. But I appreciate all you guys coming on and talking, and I hope that we definitely got what you guys wanted to get out, got those out.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Crypto Kingdom and Astrabit.
Yeah, I just want to follow that up, say thank you, Crypto Kingdom, thank you, Vela, thank you, everybody, and thank you all of you for coming. It's a real pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Bye.
Yeah. We'll move to... we're going to move to the main chat and just kind of figure out these questions and let them roll that out there, and then Dan from Vela will take care of that. We may need to... we may need to limit it up and just pick a few exchanges and stuff. All right, I'm going to close this chat out, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming out.